So I've just dug these snowdrops up. They're not named, and it is before they're even in flower, which is just as possible as after they've flowered, okay? Because I think there's a belief that you can divide them after they've flowered, which is fine. It's like a lot of things, but it's not, you know, if you're desperate to get some divided because you're selling or whatever you might be doing, great. Some of these were very proud on the soil because they're so clumped up. Now, there's a beautiful worm which is super important to me and should be for all of us because of the invasive Australian flatworms that are around. So I don't get the normal compost, which is the SYLVAGROW organic compost here, mixed in with my soil. Okay, so these are being divided. I get all the soil out. I often use a fork, just gently, with different plants actually. And then I'm going to get that little tray there. Just move you around a tiny bit. This is not easy. I'm new to this DGI. I'm going to get these out, pop them in there. Slow process, but very therapeutic. Absolutely love it. Pretty sure these are just, I say just, but they're nivalis, Galanthus nivalis, the common snowdrops. So not that matters. They're super important and very, very reliable, as long as you've got moisture and good organic matter. So I'm removing all the soil because I can't emphasize enough that you shouldn't transport your or gift your soil to any other gardener, because our soil have got all sorts in it. Now, the most important thing is that Australian flatworm, which eats our earthworm, is pretty much everywhere and in most gardens. So that's why this is very important. And dividing them up so I can just check there's no obvious ones. Eggs are really difficult to find. And please don't worry that the RHS say there's not much you can do about them. There is. You can put carpet down in a moist area once you find them. They're peach coloured with a cream base. They like moisture. They come out at this time of year. They like the cold. They're very flat. They're regenerative. So let's just put all of these in here. So many. Look at that. So many. Look at these wonderful things. So obviously soil is really precious. So this just goes straight back on the garden, the spot where it came from. So equally, horticultural health is not being moved to another part of the garden, for example, because if there are seedlings here from the three-cornered leek, for example, I don't want that put in another part of the garden. So the soil and soil health and everything else must go back where I dug this clump up from. That makes sense, hopefully. It's all about making sure that you don't create problems for the future for you, right? So they're done. Just move that to one side for a minute. I'm gonna use my, oopsie, didn't mean that to happen. Just gonna use my water butt water into there. Obviously this garden's been organic for 30 odd years, so no issues at all. And all I'm going to do is that. Just wash the soil off. This is what responsible, if you like, sellers should do. Just trying to get this tray split. There's my empty tray. It's therapeutic. Washed all the soil off. I'm absolutely clear that there's no issues at all. So then when these are being sold on, it's also a great opportunity to check for anything super interesting that's happening. Trying to put the bigger ones together, get them nice and clean. So I can't, what the date is today, it's sort of mid-January, south coast of England. Really love it if you are watching me, because I'm obsessed with pasting on the nature message, the conservation message, soil health message, pollinator message, mammal message. God almighty, I bore everybody. That's why I do talks. So coming up beautifully actually. You can see as well the white stem, which is giving you the clue of what depth when they go back in. I could be here all day doing this, and I don't want to. Let's get a few together, shall we? Make it a bit quicker. I mean, I could just throw them all in, but then that would be less fun. So this snowdrop, Galanthus nivalis, is the common snowdrop. It is a straight species, the Galanthus, and nivalis is the species, and they are super easy to grow. They provide all sorts of fantastic pollen and nectar for early pollinators, which is really important. And it's a joy to see. You'll see bumblebees hanging off these guys, because the nivalis is shorter stemmed. It hasn't been bred to have a long stem or whatever else. So it's really robust. And I've got footage of bumblebees hanging off them, you know, just about hanging on, which is rather fun. And they obviously look wonderful when they're all out. But you can extend your season with snowdrops by becoming somebody, you know, if you pick the different species that flower in December, early December or November, and then the ones that flower later in the year, later in the spring, sorry. So I'm just going to put that little one over there, those little tiny ones, so that they're all going in similar. You can see some of them have still got their coat on, which is fine. Bit of protection. I mean, snowdrop bulbs are famous for not really doing very well in a lot of gardens. And people are like, oh, I can't grow them, I've tried. The bottom line is, I said to somebody the other day, they're almost semi-aquatic. They like moisture, and they like woodland conditions, really. So deciduous shrubs and trees, then they get protected then in the summer. They do not like to dry out in the summer. So if you've got, for example, apple trees or weigelas or anything like that, like we've got here, and they're on the shady side of the garden, not the sunny side, they're happy because they do not dry out in the summer. Because if they do, that's the end of them. As simple as that. Well, for anybody who's still with me, I'm impressed. You can see how therapeutic this is. Now, what's great now is that garden centres are becoming a little bit more interesting with what they're selling, Snowdrop wise, instead of just selling the normal ones, the giant snowdrop, which is Elwesii or plicatus with a big leaf, or nivalis, this one. They're all beautiful, of course. They're selling ones that are named, you know, sort of a bit more interesting. In fact, on the Facebook Galanthophile page, somebody wrote that there's got some from Tesco's, which is incredible, really. You just have to be super careful that you remove all that soil. Look at that little baby there. Oh, it's a little cutie. Just put that there for a minute. Who would have thought how many there were in that little clump? Madness. Hope everybody's all right. I'm going to try and improve what I'm putting on YouTube, to help people, or to be told perhaps you could do that a different way, Pauline, because that's not quite right, because none of us know it all. But these are coming up beautifully now. See, you can see the young bulb, sorry, the older bulb there, and the tiny one, and that's just a matter of size. Just a minute, I think the fox will be here shortly. Just literally comes and arrives as if to say, where's my food? Young bulbs. So many birds in the garden. I am, of course, at the very bottom of our garden, which is a sort of long sloping garden on the south coast by the water, and therefore it's quite warm. You know, the bottom of the garden is quite warm. Back in way before our time, many years ago, where I'm stood was once a river. So there you are. So that's all of them done. None of that is going to mix up with the garden soil. That's perfect. That will go on the soil itself. Right, so I was just going to show you the technique now, really, of potting them up, which, you know, people are not sure of, maybe, if you've not done this before. Let's take that nice big one, that's lovely and easy. So you can see lovely roots, and you can see how light that is. So my plan is to make sure that that is planted all the way up to there, because it's the green that has come through the soil already, but not this. So that's quite a depth. So I just turn those to one side. Got my good bottoms here, look. Good bottom, naughty bottom. Anybody who's ever been to a talk will know. All that simply means is they're recyclable, of course, because they're grey, lovely and flexible. They're the 9cm pots, but they've got the indent there for allowing the water out, and the flat indent, a flat hole there that sits on the base and takes the water up. So these are good bottoms. They are not going to let you down. They're always going to allow, if you see at the side, look, they're always going to allow that water out. It's super important. So let's just pop a little bit of compost in there. You can see you know, that's not much. Okay, let's do some big ones. I'm going to make them all the same size. I'm probably, well, I think on my feet going to put 5 in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As they say in good parlance for garden design, you never really have anything other than odd numbers because it looks great. Now you can see what I've just done there. I've got them all the base plate there where the roots come out to the same level, right? And I'm just going to pop them on there, keep hold of them and put some soil around them. Now this is not that fast and it doesn't need to be. It can be meditative and just enjoyable. And then what I'm going to do, because they've got the compost holding them up, just going to pull them apart a bit and put some in the middle. Now if I worked in a garden centre or the horticultural industry, they'd be all like laughing because obviously, no, I don't like that one's too high. So I'm not bothered at all about starting again. It is just too high, so I'm going to start again with that one. And I'm going to always, there's my pronger, my bibber somewhere, not sure. So I'm going to put that really, really tall one at the side actually. Start again. No harm in that. It's important to recognise you can start again. In fact, there we go. Just put them around the edge where it's warmer always. And I've got that one down lower because it was taller. So put my finger in for that one, I think. And then this one down this side. There we go. You see they're spaced out. That was easier than what I was going to do because I think I'd be here all day if I did that. Just throw it on and carefully, not much pressure there that I'm doing. Tap, 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 get it off there like we all do. And there we go, look at that. They're great. And that'll be just, show you. Just a little bit, not too mad, but it's super important to water those in. There. So they are being potted on, divided before they've flowered. Might be a little pause in that, but it's not a big deal. They're going to sit in the greenhouse though, which is unheated. If you see the heater, don't worry, it's just not on. And then I keep all of those together in there. Perfect. Because when you get a tray full of the same one, and they're going to be super easy to keep together and make sure you don't get confused about what you've got.